No, thank you. Sleepy. You come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. Special shout out to all of our Fight TV and Fight.tv viewers. Glad you could be with us this morning. And if you don't know about the Fight.tv app, check it out. You can check out all the combat sports right on your handheld device. It's the future already. Imagine that. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Don't forget, if you're a snowbird and the weather, she's a-changing, and you're getting ready to head south, don't forget, it's 15 minutes off of I-95, well worth your stop, okay? Save it up, man. Keep your legs crossed. Use the clean bathrooms at Sal's place. Oh, they love that. They love that. But go on in. Trust me, it'll become a regular stop for you. Find out what we're talking about. And mention to Sal that you listen to him here on the Billy C. Show, and he'll try your cannoli with your order. So check it out. I'll give you directions if you need them. Just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com, or just check out the website, salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. Want a free copy? I'll hook you up. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover, and the rest will be taken care of for you. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get it right now, really. I mean, as you're watching or listening to the show, just go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, get yourself a copy. Find out why Tom Molyneux is a forgotten piece of American history, a forgotten piece of boxing history, and most importantly, a forgotten piece of Black American history. Help us set the record straight. Get a copy of the book. Find out what I'm talking about. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. Trust me, you won't regret it. You'll love the book. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Coming up a little bit later, we're going to talk about Manny Pacquiao and Jessie Vargas. The tickets are going to be going on sale. The cheapest seats, $50. Most expensive, $1,000. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I really do. Manny Pacquiao against Jessie Vargas is no layup fight. This is no Mayweather against Berto. Manny Pacquiao clearly has slid in terms of his, the quality of his game over the last couple of years, plus the injuries, even though I can't stand using that as an excuse. But at the end of the day, Jessie Vargas is a tough fighter, a legitimate top 10 fighter. He's got a belt, but the truth of the matter is this is no layup fight for Manny Pacquiao. We'll talk about that. Sergey Kovalev, Andre Ward got a couple of quotes now that their fight is officially official. I still think that Ward's going to back out at some point, but that's that. We also got some quotes from Gabe Rosado and Willie Monroe Jr. Now, they're the co-main event for the Saul Canelo Alvarez against Liam Smith fight. So I got some quotes there. And I got some other stuff. We got a bunch of emails to read. And, our blast from the past tomorrow is going to feature former world champion Cornelius Boza Edwards. So we'll chat about him. Larry Hazard scheduled to join us. A lot of stuff going on the rest of the week. Thursday, we will not be doing a live show. Sorry about that, but we'll be back on Friday. And speaking of being back, joining us right now, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Buongiorno, Billy C. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. People got to understand that's, you got to roll that Rocky. If you're, what's his name, Bernardo Osuna from ESPN, that's how he pronounces names. So in case people aren't getting that.
No, you roll it well, pal. You roll.
Yeah, I know. I've been told that. But anyway, hey, let's talk a little baseball real quick. Your New York Yankees, 3.5 games out of a wild card spot, Sal.
They got it. I'm telling you, they're coming back. And I think they're going to get that wild card berth, and that's all they need is one shot, and let's see what they can do with it.
They're calling them the baby bombers, all the young studs that they traded some of the staff for, looking like it was a smart move by the team. And it's a one game at a time for the New York Yankees. They go back to work tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time for the first pitch as they face the Kansas City Royals, last year's World Series champion. And speaking of New York teams, how about my Mets? I figured I'd stick a fork in them. They're dead. The injuries, the pitching can't pitch, the hitters can't hit, the injuries are piling up. But all of a sudden, after yesterday's big win against a team that they're battling for, I find the Mets are 2.5 games out of a wild card spot, and their next game is against another big, another big game against the team that they're battling with that wild card spot, the Florida Marlins, tonight in New York, 7:10 first pitch start. A couple of big games for the New York team, Sal.
Absolutely. This could be the year of the wild card.
Yeah, hopefully. But listen, we got some emails.
Watch this evolves to another Subway Series.
Well, I tell you what, if it does, I certainly hope my Metsies play and perform a little better than they did the last time they faced the Yankees in the World Series. I'll never forget that. As much as I loved Piazza, he really punked out in that, letting what's his face manhandle him and not standing up for himself. But anyway, and that carried on. With the Roger Clemens, the bat thing, man. Anyway, but we got an email here that I was actually glancing over before we came on, and it's from my man Jeff, and it goes like this. Hey, Billy C, does Coach understand that his email? Yes, and he's referring to the email that Coach sent yesterday regarding Colin Kaepernick, who was one time the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And in case you guys missed the show, Kaepernick is refusing to stand for our national anthem, and he's doing it in protest to Black Lives Matter movement. And there's a lot of different opinions on that, but Jeff says, does Coach understand that his email is actually very hypocritical and very ignorant at the same time? I find it funny how everyone is so caught up in the Black Lives movement, etc., but fact is, this land doesn't belong to any of us that are not Mexican or Native American. Real quick history lesson, those people were here before any of us, no matter how we got here. Fact is, the land we call our great U.S. of A. was stolen from the Mexicans and the Native Americans through blood, shed, and pillage and rape and murder of those people. With that said, Coach needs to sit down and count his blessings that he's here in the United States like the rest of us, or land of the free like the rest of us. Fact is, since blacks have been allowed to fight for this country, they've come home to a land that until a certain point in time they couldn't eat at the same establishments as whites. They protected in wars, so Coach's email, in my opinion, is a crock of BS. Even now, the military doesn't give the black soldier a break. I have friends I graduated with that went into the infantry that can't even hold a job as a cop. Before I go on, I mean, what does that have to do with it? I mean, what does that have to do? If they can't hold a job as a cop, how does that blame the military because they weren't trained correctly? I mean, Let me go on.
Let me tell you something. I think if you are a police.
Well, wait.
officer,
Let's read the whole email because let's be real. Maybe he's going to come into something else. He says. Anyway, it's very easy to go about life and criticize a minority when you've never walked in a day in their shoes. White privilege is very real. To ever understand how hard it is to live equally when you know you're a good person. Your segment where you read Coach's email, Billy C., was a bit of a slap in the face from both you and Sal, and the downplay of the issue Coach spoke of, playing the anthem and all knowing the other issues that face the minority and the minority soldier. This isn't a joke. Fact is, there wouldn't be an issue if Kaepernick played the good boy and never spoke up. That's all it would have been. It's very sad blacks and minorities have to play the part in 2016 to be accepted. When they don't, they are deemed. I don't know what you're trying to say, but are deemed troublemakers. Very, very sad when it should be visible that there's still an issue in this country. You say that there was a better avenue to have made his feelings known, Billy C., and Sal agreed, so let's get to it. What was that better avenue? I'd like to know what you feel could have been. How about Sal? He feels he has input to give. Fact is, history, when blacks have tried to make a point peacefully, they were laughed at. When blacks had had enough and revolted, blacks are wrong. So what are they supposed to do? Just accept life as it is and be happy he's making millions like a good boy would do? That U.S. national anthem is not loyal to him or any black for that matter. Yet, bet you don't read this on your show. As a fan of your show, how do you handle this email? Will mean a lot to me. First and foremost, I've always said that I'll leave an open platform for anybody that takes the time to email me. I'll read it on the show. So obviously you don't know me, Jeff. I think your viewpoint here, although everyone's entitled to their opinion, is slightly skewed. First and foremost, your point about friends of yours that have gone into the military as infantry soldiers and couldn't hold a job as a cop. I don't see the connection. I use this as an example all the time. The late, great Dennis Green, who was a very successful black head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, when the NFL adopted the old you got to interview a black for when you're hiring a new coach thing, Dennis Green was the guy that kept getting interviewed. And finally he stood up and made a big speech, and he said, listen, I appreciate people interviewing me to be that resident black coach that they interviewed just to satisfy the NFL, but I don't want to get a job just because of the color of my skin. I want to get the job because I'm the best man for the job. Well, I look at that here. Your friends, Jeff, that failed as a cop, they can't hold down a job. Why are they pointing the finger and blaming the military? Listen, the point about the Indians, the Native American Indians, and the Mexicans, at least the Mexicans from the southern points of the United States, southern western points, this is true. And listen, this country needs to stop trying to shovel negativity under the carpet, like what you point out, what we did to the Native American Indians. And I shouldn't say we, because my ancestors weren't even here, but that's a whole nother story, all right? Generally, the black Americans, a lot of them were brought to this country against their will. They didn't come here like the Italians and the Irish and the Germans, where they wanted to make a better life for themselves at that time, okay? But remember, a lot of the African tribe leaders who were black were the ones selling them to the slave ships and everything. So, I mean, you can go deeper and deeper. The point is you move on. You take advantage of life today, all right? And I'm sorry. You want to protest against something. You know what? More power to you. That's the beautiful part about this country. However, are you going to tell me, like, for example, the riots that took place in Baltimore, where they're burning their own buildings and stores and stealing and everything because they took advantage of a situation? The same thing, a female, black, mind you, mayor referring to the people that did the damage as thugs the next day because someone referred to thugs being the same thing as using the N-word, turns around and apologizes. Give me a break. I mean, listen, There's good and bad people of every race and color. As far as the national anthem goes, you're taking something that's above and beyond race, religion, and belief. You're talking about the country. Whether you're black, white, red, yellow, green, blue, whatever, if you're a United States citizen, you're an American. And that is where our unity should be. That's my opinion. And one last thing before we get Sal's. As far as me playing the national anthem, I was trying to make light of a dicey situation. It's called humor, Jeff. If you don't get it, maybe you shouldn't listen to this show. This show is about boxing, but it's also got some humor. It's got other sports. The biggest thing you could do if you don't like this show, don't fucking listen to it. What else can I say? I don't force anybody. I read social media sometimes. Oh, I can't stand the intro, so I'm not going to listen. Then don't fucking listen. I mean, what else can I say? Nobody's forcing you to watch or listen to this show. End of story. Thanks for your email. Sal, what's your opinion on Jeff's email?
Well, I thought he laid out a very well thought of email and coming from his angle and his idea. But when you read through the email as you did, I mean, I could honestly say that, we are children of one God. However you want to have your religion, you want to use whatever religion or non-religion to have a belief ability in the future and in lives, and we are all equal, and we all are all on a level playing field, or we should be. And this country has great opportunities, and as you said, Billy, then our national anthem is the anthem of the citizens of the United States of America that have fought, that have sacrificed, that have given lives. And I'll tell you, I was with the 82nd Airborne 2nd of 325 Infantry a couple decades ago, and we had a lot of black soldiers in my unit, and they were great, and they were fighters, and they held their own, and you know what? Anybody that got a job as a police officer so afterwards, would have had their own future in their own hands to either mess up and not earn the ability to stay a policeman by doing something to foul out of the boys in blue, or would have had a pathway to rising on a police force and things like that. I know a lot of successful black police officers right here in Glenn County. They're leaders in this county, and they're top-notch officers. They're great guys, and they are really leaders in this county where I live. And I'm in the deep southeast Georgia area, and it's phenomenal. So where there are level playing fields, that's one thing, and we should not have any of the racism or any of the divides. And I thought it was a little bit, you could pick your battles to make a point. And I thought that Mr. Kaepernick choosing the national anthem to make his battle known maybe could have looked a little bit, I don't know, he could have chosen another venue. Maybe he could have gotten a lot of his colleagues or friends, and maybe they could have called for a press conference, and maybe they could have done it on a Sunday morning before kickoff, or maybe they could have done something to get a message across, that they all had a well thought of emotional letter they wanted to read that made sense, that would have been poignant, that would have reached everybody, and that we could be talking about how could we further promote equality and look at what we could do. So like you said, let's get past and go on and think of the positive ways that maybe we could all understand and come together and do these things. I agree. I just thought that the national anthem, using that as a opposition, as opposed to not respect the country, was not the way to really show these pains, strives, and struggles of a minority a situation or so. I thought there could have been another way to do it.
There could have been.
Maybe there will be.
There's an easy way they could have done it. First of all, he could have gotten. Jeff is asking us what else could he have done. Well, there's a lot. Yeah, no. There's a lot. Well, no. There's a lot of things. What he could have done, first of all, is tried to get some other players that feel the same way. Because let's face it, there's a lot of us that feel that the BLM movement is that there is a good cause. There are, just like everything else, just the way people look at certain religions as all bad. That's not true. There's good people that want to make the BLM movement in a positive note, and then there's people that are trying to take advantage. And what Kaepernick could have done is he could have gotten a couple of players that agreed with him to do some kind of a visible protest, and they could have worn a BLM band on their arm. Now, the NFL doesn't allow you to do that, and that would have been a strong statement in itself. They could have done that. They could have worn something on there. If it's a band, if it's something on their jersey or whatever, it would have stuck out. It would have made the news. Instead, he attacked something that is a national situation with the Allen. Right. And that's supposed to be something that all of us share. If you don't like this country, get the hell out. I mean, why, blame it on that? And to suggest that people don't listen, the reason why I always bring up the Dennis Green thing is because, in a sense, prejudice it has become reverse. Do people really want to get a job just because of the color of their skin or the religion they believe in, et cetera, or do they want to get that job or that promotion because they're the best person for that job? I'm convinced that the majority of the people want the latter. They don't want to be handed something, but there's a lot of people that feel that they should be handed something, and I don't agree with that. Not that, just for example, in my family, Italian heritage, and I know you are too, back even as early as the 50s, there was big time prejudice against Italians, big time, where people, when for example, my grandfather had to come over here and change his first name just to have people talk to him. I mean, it was that bad. Now, I'm not suggesting it was as horrific as slavery, but my point is that every single person of background, etc., coming to this country had to start out at the bottom. It's your job to pull yourself up. You can't woe-is me. And that's what I see a lot happening. And my big argument with the BLM movement now is, it's a lot of younger people that are crying foul that have never witnessed and never suffered like their grandparents and great-grandparents did and generations before. That's my point. Listen, we could go around and around on this. It's not a happy subject to talk about. And listen, I read the email, and I hope that we're all can move forward. Let's read another one. This one's from Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy C, I saw the Robert Guerrero versus Peralta fight, and the Ghost clearly lost and should retire, even though he could still probably fight. He has too many close decisions and lost. I had it 8-4 for Peralta. He gets hit too much. He's slow. Sal is right about Guerrero. He didn't have any video on Peralta, and Robert couldn't adjust and impose his fight to Peralta. He also says Angulo should call it quits for sure. Nobody wants to watch his fights anymore because he almost looks like he doesn't have a chance to win. He's a sloppy fighter with slow motion movement. What's next for Tommy Gunn after his win? What's your thoughts on Jose Felix Jr. Calling out Terry Flanagan? Don't see Felix beating Flanagan. He doesn't work enough. What's next for Miguel Mariaga? Such names as Amagasa, Luis Rosa, or Jorge Lara. Well, my thoughts real quick, Sal, is I agree that he agrees with us about Robert Guerrero. Just should consider hanging it up. As far as Angulo, definitely he shows us nothing. Tommy Uzentuzen, the jury's still out on him. He's got to get his head straight. Yes, he won, but who knows? As far as Jose Felix Jr., Terry Flanagan. Terry Flanagan's a good fighter. I like to see that fight. I think it's a good matchup. And as far as Mariaga, Amagasa, Luis Rosa, or Jorge Lara, my one thought on that is all three of them would be good. You take one at a time. You move them in progression. That's what we talk about when we say they should progressively increase their level of opposition. What do you want to add to this email, Sal?
I think you said it all, Bill. It's nothing really to say. I mean, it's evident, it's clear, and we got to look at some of these fighters. hanging it up or moving forward with their lives, and some of the new talent that we've got to cultivate and see how they rise up in the ranks. And that's the cycle of fighters. You become a prospect into a contender, into either a champion or a journeyman, and there's a simple cycle. It's how the dice are rolled, how you're matched, and how your ability to fight and your skills, how you acquire, and how you could bring them to the forefront, and mental as well as physical. It's a tough business, and the strong survive, and the weak either have a choice of becoming punching bags or getting out of the ring and doing something else.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Next email's from our man Joel. He says, it was reported today that the winner of Gabe Rosado against William Monroe could be in the running to face Canelo. How much do you and Sal think that will be the case? I feel there's more of a chance he would fight the winner of those two than Billy Joe Saunders and Triple G ever. Your thoughts, please. And I also want to comment on a chat room. We have a listener in there titled Wow. He wants to know what I think about Canelo dropping out of the VADA program before his fight with Liam Smith. Anytime somebody drops out of these, Olympic-style drug testing or goes into it, makes me wonder. Especially today with the microscope, he drops out. What's that telling us? I think what he would be afraid of, I'm not assuming or even accusing him of using any kind of illegal steroid, but it seems that the one he would use, if he did, would be a weight loss type one, where he can lose a lot of weight in a short period of time to make his way in and then rehydrate. I don't know enough about it. As far as the email from Joel, I think it's funny that Saul Canelo Alvarez is in the running to fight the winner of Gabe Rosado against William Monroe. Isn't he campaigning as a junior middleweight now? And the Gabe Rosado William Monroe fight is a middleweight. Sal, Oscar De La Hoya was trying to say that Saul Canelo Alvarez is a typical tough Mexican fighter and everything else. To me, he's starting to go down a path that just I despise when it comes to boxing.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, I understand too. And, it's so funny. We used to, my peers and I, when drugs were being introduced or to the fight game, and I can tell you stories, and I have on and off film, of some fighters that were given B12 shots in the butt every week, and their trainers were actually giving them Decadurabolin or something else, steroids that they didn't even know about. It's sad. It's sad on that level, and but I'll tell you, it's they've got to have a clear-cut way of screening fighters. You should be able to come in just using your God-given ability and strength to condition your body, and they should leave all that other stuff out of the picture altogether. It's not good.
No doubt. But everybody tries to find an edge, right?
Oh, they do. And you know what? It's like I go back. Here I go. I'm going to plug an endorsement again. And I'm telling you. The book I grew up on that I use as my for my own conditioning and kitchen table was that Eat to Win book by that Dr. Robert Haas in the 80s. And man, he goes into telling about how you could use the natural supplements in a health food store, or just getting your rest and doing the ergogenic aids that are still legal and everything else. And it's enough to understand, with the body, if you really understand physiologically how your body responds to conditioning. You stress your body, you rest your body, you feed it the right food supply, and you try to have it on that steady, good premium fuel mixture. It's like building a Ferrari and putting unleaded gas in there regular, instead of the high test premium fuel,
Exactly. Exactly.
I use that analogy a lot.
No, that's a good one. That's a good
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
That's good and
Nice.
fluff and stuff too, right? But anyway, this one is a question for Sal. Here we go, Sal. Get ready.
I'm going to pay attention now.
This is a question for Sal.
I get lost in the chat room sometimes.
Yeah, no, I'm getting pissed in the chat room right now. But
anyway,
yeah. Well, you know what? I'm so sick. I'm
on air here.
Listen, I'm so sick of the. And I'm going to say it. I'm so sick of the. I'm so sick. No, I'm so sick of the boo-hoo about the poor blacks. Okay, listen. Everybody's got problems, all right? And the point is that we have an opportunity in this country to pull ourselves out. Stop pointing the finger at everybody else. If somebody doesn't get, and listen, I am totally anti-cops. I don't like police, but it's not because of any specific person they go after. It's themselves. When a individual puts on that police uniform, they change. Has nothing to do with who they're going after or anything like that. Everybody's got issues, and you got to pull yourself out. The strong survive. You can't point the fingers at everybody else. That's the difference between being strong and being weak. That's where that saying comes from. The strong survive. You can't point the finger at everyone else. There comes a time in life, Sal, where you got to look in the friggin' mirror. You got to blame yourself. Come on. Nobody asked to even be born. Nobody asked to grow up in this country or that country. It's where it is. You wake up, you take your first breath in life. It is what it is. You're dealt with a deck of cards.
A set of cards.
Exactly. You're dealt with the deck of cards.
All you can do is try to improve that hand day after day.
That's it.
And win the game in the end. That's all. You know what? And I feel, and I empathize. I look at what I could do to put myself in someone else's shoes. But you still have, no matter what color, no matter what you are, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, if you got the passion for excellence, the will to survive, you do things along the rules of the law, and you do things that are supposed to be a natural progression for the path of success, then you're going to succeed. That's what this country's based on. But you have to have the fire in the belly. You have to have the blood in the heart. You have to have what it takes to want to be better, to want to be a champion. It doesn't have to be in a boxing ring. You got to be a champion in life.
Exactly. The point is that, the best, strongest people rise to the top. As much as I don't like Floyd Mayweather, he's a great example of a guy that rose to the top. You can't.
He built a successful path to life.
You can't. And although I'm critical of how he did it in terms of inside the boxing ring, at the end of the day, he's better off than I'll ever be. His great grandchildren will be better off than mine will ever be. So hey, it is what it is. Everybody needs to do what they can. Don't look in the mirror and say, "Oh, poor me." They're not giving me the promotion because I believe in a different religion, or I'm have a different background, or I'm a different color. It's not the reason. Look in the mirror. What can you do to improve yourself? That's all. Anyway, the message from Chris from Canada to Sal. Sal. Floyd Mayweather Sr., how ironic is that? I mentioned Floyd's Jr. and his father. Right. Floyd Mayweather Sr. preaches everything comes off the jab. This weekend, we saw David Peralta do just that. Do you feel that this was his key to success in the early rounds?
That's a good question. I was so impressed just at the fact that, Peralta, I think he had a plan B. And he came in here as the underdog. He rose to the occasion, and he put on the fight of his life against. He was brought in. Let's be honest. He was brought in to be an opponent, to have somebody that Guerrero could look good at beating, who has a respectable record. And Peralta was not going to let that happen. And I think the early rounds that Peralta took, that Guerrero beat Peralta, he was assessing. He was looking at it. And I saw that jab that Peralta had, and it was good. I do believe many times things all happen with the jab. That jab could be used for so many things. That jab could be used just to get a blind spot, to range, to get the distance between your opponent, to use as a feint, to boom, come over with a hook, belly, anything. So a lot of it is off that jab. And Peralta, I thought he just fought a very smart fight. He came there to win, and he dismantled his opponent one by one. Usually shots right after the jab. The right hand had a home on Guerrera, and so did the counter. I saw him even on the inside in early rounds, slip in with a left hook to the body. So this guy came in, and he was clever for this fight. He rose to the occasion, and he won. And yeah, maybe Guerrera wasn't his young self, but again, this is the fight game. You enter that squared circle, you're going to do your best to win. And Peralta was the better man that night. I'm very impressed, and I think his days of driving a cab are going to be on hold.
Hey, nobody murders names worse than myself, but it's Peralta.
Peralta.
Stop
You
putting
know
it
what?
up. Stop putting it up.
Peralta. Not Peralta.
You're
Peralta.
thinking. I think you're thinking of Pellegrino water. I don't know.
I am. You know what? I had some last night with Kayla. We had a little Pellegrino.
There you go. I got another email. I got a couple more emails. This one's
But
from
thanks
my
for
man.
that email.
Here we go with the Canadian invasion again. We got this is another one from Brett. He says, "Hey Billy C and Sal." He says, "Oh my God, I totally forgot that you called a couple of Jelina's fights up in Edmonton on Sportsnet. A lot better than these other jokers like Daniel Jacobs, Garcia, etc. that you've talked about on the show. You could throw Sergio Mora and Doug Fisher from Ring TV into the mix too." You know what? I had fun up there on Sportsnet. I wish I could have gotten a couple of more gigs up there. I actually really liked Edmonton, and the fight cards were really good. They were black tie events that were fun, and I had a good time. And I like doing our broadcast, doing webcasts and TV broadcasts with LDL TV, and hopefully now that we're on Fight TV. And Fight.tv that we'll get to do some events with Hall of Famer Jim Ross. So I'm looking forward to that. He said,
great.
"Did you see the quotes from the spat between Willie Monroe Jr. and Gabe Rosado? There's some bad blood here, and this is going to be a good fight because of the bad blood, and skill-wise, they're pretty evenly matched in my eyes." I'm going to read the quotes here in a couple of seconds. But I do disagree with you, Brett. They're two different fighters. Styles make fights. William Monroe is a really good counterpuncher. I've seen him live a few times. I've seen Gabe Rosado live a few times. I think Gabe has clearly been in there with the tougher opposition, and it's going to be interesting to see if William Monroe will have enough pop to hurt Gabe Rosado, or even cut him up because he's susceptible to the cut. But I have a feeling that Gabe, unless he's starting to slide a little bit, is a notch above Willie Monroe. But we'll see. Willie is a good fighter. I love his team. He said, "I'm glad you mentioned that Triple G is really pursuing Saunders after the Brook fight. I hadn't heard about that and was happy that you mentioned it. If Saunders refused to fight, he's a real chicken, especially if Triple G is willing to go to England and offer $3 million. Even if Saunders loses and Triple G unifies the belt, Saunders will get good fights if he has a good showing." They offered him $3 million that he turned down, so I'm assuming that it's going to be a little more. And you're right, it's a win-win situation, Brett. He says, "Great points about the Spike fights on Spike this past Saturday. I agree with you guys that both should retire." He's referring to Guerrero and Angulo, especially when Sal said that Guerrero had some real decisions to make when he looks in the mirror. Coming from a fighter, those words carry weight. Great job as usual, guys. Can't wait for your next show.
Thank you.
I mean, to tell you the truth, Sal, I mean, in every sport, there comes a time when that athlete has to look in the mirror and say, what else do I got left to prove? Especially Robert Nicolas Guerrero. He's been, he's made a ton of money. He's been a multi-division world champion. He's fought the biggest names in the sport. I mean, it's time to hang it up.
Well, and that is it. Like I said, I'm going to read a poem tomorrow, maybe, or next time we're on. It's The Man in the Glass, and that's the only one you really have to please, besides God above and your loved ones in your life, is the man in the glass. That's the guy looking back at you, because you got to live with him for the rest of your life, and he's the last one you're going to be with when you go. And the bottom line is, I say this all the time, as long as the prize is always worth the price, and you've got the passion, the fire, and the ability to still do what you could do the best you can, and you're looking at making a legacy or becoming a legend or whatever you got to do it. You're going to be willing to do it because the prize is worth the price.
Exactly.
Well, when you're in your 30s and you look at where you've come from and what you've done, you got to look in the mirror again and say, is that prize still worth the price? What do I have to prove? And what is the next punch that's going to land on my head that could maybe do some damage that's detrimental for the rest of my life, that could really change my whole future? Yes, that's some things that we have to consider when you're older. When you're a young buck, you're in your 20s. You nothing's gonna help you. You can hit me with a sledgehammer. I don't care. I'm gonna come back like rock and sock and robots. That's the mentality. But yeah, when you're older and this and that, those are things sometimes. Those little doubts or those little thoughts come into your mind. The closer you are to 40, you realize your mortality. Maybe you're not as invincible. Maybe you've been humbled by eating someone's fist. Who knows? But that's what I'm saying. You look in the mirror. As long as you still see the prize is worth the price, and you still have the ability, you still have the fire and ability, and you still have that blinders on to focus, to train, to be the best you can, to go out there and be a world beater, then that's fine. Keep going. But if you have that little room of doubt, it's time to maybe think about some other things.
Exactly. I got another email here. This one's from Vin. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, Ward may be under a lot of pressure from Rock Nation and HBO to make this fight, as they need to make their money from Ward. Ward made $2 million against Smith, 1.8 against Barrera, $850K against Brand. Interesting to see his purse has been declining as he went on. John David Daxon, in an interview, said Kovalev wanted to train himself for the Chilimba fight, which is why he looked off. I don't think Ward can take the win because his recent level of opposition was more like tune downs than tune ups. I have Kovalev winning by stoppage and questionable scorecard showing up. I agree with Vin
I agree.
on everything.
I agree 100%, man. Good.
No, I mean,
Good call.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. Really. I mean, when you think about it, I think Kovalev needs to knock him out, no matter how the fight goes. But we'll see. Thanks for the email, Vin. And final email. We got a lot of them today. Final email.
I love getting emails.
This is from my man Jeff. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, what do you guys think about Cassie deciding to stop fighting against Miller? He said he couldn't use his hand because it was injured, and you need all the weapons against someone who's 50 pounds heavier than you. Do you think that that's a good example of being intelligent about your boxing career? Deciding to bow out of a fight with an injury while in there with a guy who, even if you were fully healthy, would be a daunting task? Or is this just a quitting job? What's the difference? And this is for Sal in particular, between Roberto Duran's decision to quit against Leonard and Cassie's decision to quit. Are they all just disgraceful no matter what the circumstances? Before you answer, I'll just say this.
Wow.
Unfortunately for the sport of boxing, we don't have a tap out. We don't have a glorious way to just say I've had enough. Really, that's your corner's job to make that decision. I don't know what to say about Cassie. I don't think Miller is anything. I think he's a fraud. And my quick thoughts on Duran and Leonard, a lot of people look at that as quitting. To me, it was quitting over frustration more than anything. Not that he felt he couldn't beat his opponent. Cassie, on the other hand, his choice of words seems like he just felt he couldn't beat Miller, which means he can't move on because Miller ain't all that. What's your thoughts?
Well, I concur with you there on the Miller situation, but there have been many fighters in many fights that have endured things that can materialize in the course of a fight, and they've fought to the end. I mean, you could look at Muhammad Ali with his broken jaw against Kenny Norton. You could look at other fighters. You could look at Marcel Cerdan stopping his fight in the corner when he fought Jake LaMotta. He was injured and he couldn't go on. You could look at a lot of fighters that choose to go on or don't choose to go on. I think it really is subject to personal opinion or matter. And what do we do as far as forming our opinion when all is said and done? On some level, here I am not really feeling too warm and fuzzy about Pacquiao, but he did fight that fight with an injured shoulder. And maybe he should have disclosed that earlier and maybe postponed. I don't know. And I know it broke my heart because I was the biggest Roberto Duran fan. And I think the first fight he did against Leonard, Leonard tried to show he could fight his fight, Duran's fight, and beat him at his own game. And I think Duran just gave him a lesson that it was a no. And Leonard, the second fight, I applaud him always because he said, "Hey, guess what? Now it's going to be my fight. I'm going to show you what I really could do." And what he did to my legend was just totally dismantle him, and that was his own frustration. He didn't have the steak 24 hours or 12 hours before the fight. He didn't have stomach cramps, as he said. No, that was his own way of just saying, forget about it. You're not going to fight my fight. You're not going to fight like a man. I'm not going to chase you all over the ring. Forget about it. I quit. Had he known the repercussions, I think he got caught up in the moment. I think he did what he did without realizing that it was actually going to just be the end result, and it was over. I think he was just frustrated. It was the heat of the moment. He did it. And nonetheless, no, that was something that there's many people that will never forgive him for. He quit in the middle of a fight, and that was it.
Yeah, well,
so I don't know if I answered the question, but I gave opinions,
No, I mean, the bottom line is that, people looked at it. I mean, he was crucified. He couldn't even go back to Panama at that time.
No, people, and you know why, Bill? Just like this Pacquiao. We thought Pacquiao had what it takes with a full tank of gas and on a level playing field that he was going to go do something special against Mayweather. Well, he didn't. And you know what? Like I said, a healthy Pacquiao could fight Mayweather 100 times, and Mayweather is going to beat him 90 of those 100. He just has his style. He has his number. Pacquiao, if he was healthy that night, I don't think he could have done much more. And the Roberto Duran thing, that was a shame because he quit. He quit because he didn't want to face embarrassment or beating that Leonard was going to give him that night.
Manny Pacquiao, Jessie Vargas, the tickets go on sale Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday. I think this is a 50-50 fight, Sal. I know we talked about this before. You don't think so. You think that Vargas is going to be not that tough of a fight. I would not be surprised if Pacquiao does not come out on top. I respect Manny Pacquiao for taking this fight because he certainly could have taken an easier opponent. He's taken a legitimate top 10 welterweight, at least by our rankings. He's picking a champion in the welterweight division. I think that a win here for Manny Pacquiao and a decisive win, not some controversial, robbery on the scorecards, but a decisive win, a good performance by Manny Pacquiao, clearly sets up the Mayweather rematch or another big fight, possibly against a guy like Canelo Alvarez or Triple G or Terrence Crawford. And I wouldn't be surprised if Manny Pacquiao steps up and fights any one of those guys, Mayweather, Canelo, or Triple G, should he get by Vargas, because that's the kind of fighter he is. That's his mentality, and that's what he's trying to prove, that he's an all-time great, and all-time great fighters take chances. They take risks. They do things outside of the box. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, they do, but I don't know how much more weight Pacquiao can put on and be effective. I mean, he's not a big guy. But aside from that, yeah, let's see what he could do. Let's see him get past Vargas, and I'll give him all the credit if he beats him. And I think it's a tough opponent for him to face on his comeback, but I think he'd also take the calculated risk. Here's my question: if Vargas beats him, what's next for Manny? I think retirement.
I agree with you. I agree 100%. I mean, what else could he do?
I know. This is his make or break fight. That's what I'm saying. Manny Pacquiao's looking at it, he says, yeah, the prize is worth the price. I'm going to go out there and show people I'm going to turn the clock back and I'm going to be a whirlwind beater. If that's going to be the Manny Pacquiao that shows up and that's going to be his style that night and that's going to be his intensity, his blinders on, his ferocity, then we're going to see a Manny that we were looking for. If not, and he gets beat, he gets outboxed, he gets punched, he gets hurt, hey, guess what? What else does he have to do? Retire, Manny, and keep healthy.
Exactly. We have some quotes. Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward, we announced yesterday the fight, which is November 19th in Vegas, was officially announced.
I like when you do that.
I mean, well, it's almost as bad as some of like Frank Warren. Well, Frank Warren, a promoter over in England, he's a press release, although he's quieted down a lot for 2016. Prior to that, he was a press release guy. I mean, he would release a press release telling us that there's going to be a press release released, So, I mean, and I'm not kidding you. Anybody that follows the UK boxing scene will back me on that. But, we've been hearing about the Ward-Kovalev fight or the Kovalev-Ward fight, however you want to spew it, for a long time, really. I mean, we wanted this fight to happen last year, and it was made, it was broken, it was made. We need tune-ups, we need a tuna fish sandwich, we need all this stuff, right? And finally, tickets go on sale. The location is official, and we got some quotes. Andre Ward said, "I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it. I want to be the light heavyweight champion of the world. We'll see you in November. I've been doing this for 22 years, and if I'm not ready to fight the best now, I never would be ready. I've been preparing for these moments since I was a kid. You got to respect Sergey for the way he's gotten to where he's gotten." That's kind of like what I say,
He's got to get where he's going to go.
Wherever you are,
that's where you're going to be.
Yeah, that's where you're going to be. I forgot what the hell I say. But anyway, he says he didn't have any soft touches. He wasn't protected. He wasn't really pushed by the media. He's a guy who should get a lot more credit than he does. The winner of this fight could possibly be pound for pound number one. Let me just say this. I've been very critical of Andre Ward in the past several months. And people that have listened to this show and know me know that I was a huge fan of Andre Ward for a long time. But when Andre Ward went into his little protest against his promoter, Dan Goosen at the time, and walked away from the sport for almost 2 years, I just felt that he shouldn't be automatically anointed the best pound for pound. And to add to the fact that he became a diva of sorts, probably the biggest next to Miguel Cotto, it wasn't that I didn't like Andre Ward. It was just that I was disagreeing with his path that he chose. Now, with this statement, I couldn't be more respectful of Andre Ward after the accolades that he gave Sergey Kovalev. And I honestly believe that this is coming from the heart of Andre Ward. I do not for a second think that Andre Ward is just trying to give his opponent accolades to promote the fight. I believe that Andre Ward truly respects Sergey Kovalev. I applaud Andre Ward for his comments about the upcoming fight in November. Now, whether he continues to comment along those lines, whether he stops communicating with the press, I don't care. I respect what Andre said, Sal, and I'm actually really, really glad that he said it, and the choice of his words were perfect.
I think you're right, 100%. I'll tell you what, I don't know who helped him or if he wrote that script, but I'll tell you what, ideal, and my hat's off to Andre Ward. Beautifully said, and I respect that very, very much.
Sergey Kovalev said, on the other hand, I kill him. No, he didn't
kill
say,
you.
I kill you when I get the chance. No, Sergey Kovalev said, I'm very excited to finally get my chance to face Andre Ward on November 19th. I want to face the best competition. I want to be the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Thank you to all of my fans, and I hope everyone will come out and see this great fight November 19th in Las Vegas. It clearly shows that these two guys are respecting each other.
They have each other.
I just hope that the respect is now, before the bell rings, and after the final bell rings. During the fight, I don't want to see any respect.
Nope.
I mean, there were times when I've watched fights Manny Pacquiao in particular, where they respect each other so much. They're hugging after each round. They're touching gloves after. I mean, they practically want to get a whole hotel room together. I don't want to see that during the fight. Prior to the fight, I'm all for it. I respect both fighters, and I applaud them. After the fight, I applaud them for being respectful. I feel it's a necessity in this sport where you have to give your opponents credit and respect after and before the fight. But during the fight, it's a fight, Sal. I mean, you can't get into their head. Some fighters try to respect so much that they're in their opponent's head where they don't really want to hit him. When a guy's hugging you after every round and touching gloves, you kind of don't want to kick his ass. But I hope these two leave it all in the ring, save the respect for prior to the first bell and after the final.
Absolutely. 100%.
Keep going. You got anything? No.
I do, Yeah, I gotta. I just saw on ESPN, Anthony Joshua is slated to fight November 26th, but they do not have an opponent or location as of yet. Billy C., my question to you is, who would you like to see Anthony Joshua fight on November 26th?
Are we going through a deja vu here, or did you forget we talked about this last week?
We did. I know, but I want to recap it. Is there anybody else you'd like to see?
Well, you are aging, Sal, and your memory's probably going a little bit, so I respect that. It's I respect you. Before and after you had your mind. But anyway, the truth of the matter is I would love to see him. Now that Golden Boy and Luis Ortiz, parted ways, I should say, broke their contract, or Luis Ortiz bought out the contract. I would love to see Anthony Joshua face him, or because that would be kind of a unification of titles of sorts. But then again, chances are the WBA would strip him of his interim belt because he's required to fight Alexander Ustinov, which I think makes no sense. I don't think there's enough money in that fight.
We talked about that last week. I remember that.
I would love to see Luis Ortiz fight Anthony Joshua, but if that can't happen, if Luis Ortiz is indeed going to go through with the WBA unification plan, which they're trying to do, and one of the steps towards that is a fight between him and Alexander Ustinov. I always am ready to say, Peter Ustinov.
Man,
every time.
Same page. Every time you say Ustinov, I think of Peter Ustinov.
Every time
you said it, I did. I know. I thought it.
Every time. I always have to think before because
Peter is
the word Peter. It's about to come out. But just remember that this is how effed up the WBA is. Their fighter, Frezequendo, who fought and lost, by the way. It was a controversial loss, but he lost to Ruslan Shigaev, who technically used to hold the regular WBA belt and subsequently lost it to Lucas Brown, who subsequently tested positive for a banned substance. So really what we got going on. Yeah, I mean, follow the WBA bouncing ball. And oh, by the way, remember Luis Ortiz, he tested positive for a banned substance too and served a 6-month suspension. But I think what the WBA is trying to do is to have Lucas Brown fight who did I just say? The kid from Chicago. I always forget his name. I just said it. Who did I just say? Why do I?
Ustinov?
No, not Peter Ustinov. Frezequendo. I always forget Frezequendo. But Frezequendo, as far as I know, is supposed to fight Lucas Brown. Now, if that fight doesn't happen, Frezequendo will fight the winner of the Luis Ortiz-Ustinov fight if that fight happens. So the WBA is kind of in some serious trouble. And, oh, by the way, don't forget that the super champion, I believe, is Tyson Fury. So
that's right.
It's very, very confused. Oh, no. The super champion.
Well, either that or I would love to see Anthony Joshua fight Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, well, Deontay Wilder is gonna. He's getting. Listen, I'll comment on it.
He's injured. I know it's going to be a long time before we see him again. Just
January. But I'll answer the question. If it's not Luis Ortiz for Anthony Joshua, I have a feeling, I'm predicting that his next opponent's going to be either Luis Ortiz or Joseph Parker. So they're just negotiating now. But as far as Deontay Wilder, listen, Deontay Wilder, they're already setting up a war of words, social media war between Deontay Wilder and Jarrell Baby Miller. Now, that is the way that Deontay Wilder's career has gone. This is a guy that says he's the best. He pounds his chest. He says he's the best. And you watch. Jarrell Miller is going to talk his way into a fight with Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder will destroy Jarrell Miller. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Jarrell Miller has nothing. He's a fraud with a capital F. But Deontay Wilder must fight a major player in the heavyweight division. Jarrell Miller is not close to a major player. So it's going to be interesting to see who fights who, when they fight, etc., etc. We have another couple of quotes here, and this one is a back-and-forth argument between Gabe Rosado and Willie Monroe Jr. There was a conference call held yesterday, and Gabe Rosado and Willie Monroe Jr. are actually the co-main event for the horrific pay-per-view card. That the main event is Canelo Alvarez against Liam Smith on September 17th, which is coming up pretty quickly. We got back-to-back big fights coming our way, the Triple G fight, and then the week later we got the Canelo and Smith pay-per-view, which doesn't fare well for my pocketbook because I'm going to have to pay for both these fights. And,
Me too, I know.
I just don't think that either card, although I think the Triple G, Kell Brook, I mean,
I'm willing to pay for.
I like the fight because, you got all these naysayers that refuse to give Triple G any credit because the color of his skin, Sal, okay? I mean, let's be real. I mean, let's be fair. People blame people for, some people blame other people for not giving people a fair shake because of the color of their skin. Well, it's also reverse. Because Triple G, I believe, does not get the credit he deserves because of the color of his skin. And the truth of the matter is that you can't criticize a fighter who no one's willing to step in the ring with. And that's the case with Triple G. He'll fight anybody. I've never heard him back away from anyone. But the bottom line is the fact that there are people saying that he's cherry-picked Kell Brook, which I totally disagree. Kell Brook, may be moving up 2 weight classes, which is entirely true, Sal. But the guy is bigger. You watch on fight night, everyone's going to be amazed that Kell Brook is going to look so much physically bigger than Triple G. You watch. It's going to... Now, whether that transforms...
I agree with you. Kell Brook's going to be big that night. He's going to look like a light heavyweight.
Well, whether that transforms into being a better fighter at that higher weight, we'll have to wait and see.
Well,
but
exactly.
as far as physicality, you're gonna see that he's bigger. But anyway, Gabe Rosado and Monroe were on a conference call yesterday, and Rosado, when the speaker was asking them about some questions, they both were agreed that they were avoided by Billy Joe Saunders, who seems to want to fight you, Sal. I mean, he's looking for.
Fight.
I know you with one arm and you're pushing 60. Yeah, he'll fight you.
No, I'm not pushing those 60.
Well, whatever.
What I did yesterday, I ran 9 miles. Go ahead.
There you go. Hey, that makes you a 9-mile runner. But
it does.
Willie Monroe said,
I'm surviving. I still got a 24-hour headache.
There you go. Let me start off with Rosado. He says, honestly, I don't know who the hell Monroe thinks he is. He thinks he's like this big puncher or something, and people are scared to fight him. Nobody knows who the hell he is. Honestly, I told Gomez, who's the matchmaker for Golden Boy, whoever it is, meaning whoever the opponent is, just make it happen. Willie's acting like he's being ducked, like he's some big puncher. He's really nothing special. He's only fought one world-class guy, and he's referring to Triple G. Monroe said, I didn't know punching was the only aspect of boxing. I'm pretty much a 4-dimensional fighter, which is true. Willie Monroe is a very good defensive fighter. He can counterpunch very well, and he does have some pop when he lets his hands go. I'll give you that. Rosado responds immediately. You didn't fight nobody. You didn't fight no world-class fighters. You fought Triple G and quit. I'm going to make you quit, too. Monroe says, that's all you can say. But every middleweight has had you, and ran through you. So Rosado cut him off and said, "You're nothing special, dude. You fought a bunch of ESPN fighters." Monroe says, "And I'm going to fight another one." And Rosado says, "Hey, listen, I've beat world-class fighters, dude. I've got world-class fighters on my resume that I beat. You ain't beat nobody. You're a bum." The funny thing is this is a typical, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But at the end of the day, Rosado does have the better resume. I mean, I love the Monroe team. I'm close with them. But Rosado has the better resume, Sal.
I think you're right. I know on his resume. I only have a question. Does Rosado have a brother that fights?
Who? Rosado?
I'm teasing. I'm going to make a joke. I was going to go into the Rosado brothers. I haven't seen the Rosado brothers in a long time.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen any of them. But does he have a brother? Anyway. I know that there's a pretty good looking female Rosado, but I'll stay off of that. But
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a good fight. I think they're starting to do the verbal exchange pretty well.
Yeah, well,
Let's see what? Let's see how it translates in a ring once the bell rings.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. A lot of these guys, they're so good verbally, but when the bell rings, they're like, "What?
We have the fluff. I got the stuff.
I gotta hit this guy." I mean, what's up? But I don't know, man. I mean, just getting back to the Pacquiao Vargas fight real quick. I mean, our latest rankings have been updated on the website, and when you take a look at our welterweight division, we still have Mayweather ranked number 1 because he hasn't been out for a year, and despite him saying he retired, we don't take people out of the Billy C rankings until they're out of the sport for a year. So when that happens, Floyd will be out. But our number 2 guy happens to be Manny Pacquiao. Timothy Bradley's our number 3 guy, and then to go down the list, we got Kell Brook at 4, Thurman at 5, Khan at 6, Sean Porter at 7, Danny Garcia at 8, and Jessie Vargas at our number 9 spot, with Errol Spence starting to move up. He's at number 10. With that said, I mean, Manny Pacquiao is fighting now. Our top 10, we don't crown a champion. So our number 1 guy is the guy that we think is the best welterweight in the world today, who's Floyd Mayweather. Despite him saying he's retired until he's out for a year, that's just the way we are. We do the guy who beat the guy. Unless you're out for a year, then you're off. But with that said, I mean, Manny Pacquiao is fighting a relevant fighter in the welterweight division. Sal, Jessie Vargas is a legitimate fighter, and something you really, with the exception of the other names, minus Floyd, because his last fight was against a guy that's not even in our top 15. I think it's a tough fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I mean, considering Manny's age and his decline to a degree, and Jessie Vargas actually going in the opposite direction. He's on the rise. He's been in some tough fights. He's weathered the storm. I think it boils down. Plus factor in the case that Manny Pacquiao has got other things going on. He's a politician. He's doing his training for the first time 100% in the Philippines, which he never has done in the past.
Wow.
I just don't think that, it's a 50-50 fight is what I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's it. Maybe Las Vegas odds will concur with you. I don't know, but we'll see. I'm interested in seeing the fight. I will be very interested in seeing that fight. And I think that's how they build up the allure. Who knows?
Yeah, well, listen, tickets go on sale. I think it will obviously be a sold-out crowd, and we'll go from there. But anyway, I just want to remind everyone to tune in tomorrow when we have our Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard on. He'll give us his thoughts on the fights from last week. And we do have another really slow week. I will give you a little hint for all of our people that are in the Billy C Challenge. Once again, we looks like we're going to be battling a tie to crown the winner of August for our challenge. So I'll be getting that out. I haven't updated the website, but I did get the counts all completed. So I will be updating everybody on that. We do have another slow week of sorts in the sport of boxing, at least on TV. So we got to grin and bear it. And then we got a couple of back-to-back busy weekends coming our way. So I just wanted to mention that. And don't forget our blast from the past, a guy that you probably remember because he fought during your time. Cornelius Boza Edwards.
Yes, junior lightweight, correct?
That's junior lightweight. Yeah, super featherweight, junior lightweight. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he was a cagey fighter. He was pretty good. He was tall, thin, and he had a good little pop at the end of his punch.
And he was a southpaw.
That's what I meant. Yeah, he was a southpaw too. I was getting to that.
Yeah, and he also lost to Jose Luis Ramirez.
Yes.
Prior to we were talking about last week when we did our blast on Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. His first world title shot was against Jose Luis Ramirez, and he lost. And
right. Cornelius
Boza Edwards, his last pro fight was against Ramirez, and that fight was actually prior to Sweet Pea. So we'll talk all about that tomorrow. But
every time you say prior, I have a flashback. I have this 24-hour headache I told you about from running. But the last time I had a 24-hour headache was when I sparred 8 rounds getting ready, Aaron Pryor ready for his fight against Gary Hinton. I'll tell you, that's a flashback.
Gary Hinton,
Gary Hinton, that was his last successful title defense.
Yeah, I was going to say Gary Hinton
from Philly.
From Philly, I was just going to tell you he was a world champion too, though.
He was.
Yeah.
He beat Aaron Pryor for the title.
Right.
I was. That's when Stallone had the training camp, and Richie Giacchetti and Aaron Pryor, Lee Canalino, the whole stable of Stallone, including myself. We were out there in California for maybe 8 weeks training in Culver City, and we had a great training camp. And Stallone was there with us training, and he had Dolph Lundgren because they were filming at Rocky IV. But it was great. But Aaron Pryor and I, we sparred every day. We sparred. I probably getting ready for that fight. We probably sparred several hundred rounds at least. It was a good session. Great time.
Sal, our It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which is sponsored by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. Looking for a unique spice? Well, check out Kenny Bear's barbecue rub. Not just for barbecues. It's for everything. I put it on chicken, beef, my pizza. I wouldn't put it on your pizza because I like it the way it is. But it's good stuff. It brings out different flavors depending upon what you put it on. I'm not a fish eater, but I heard that it's very good on fish too. Get yourself a bottle. Tell them Billy C sent you. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Southern Gourmet Spice banner. Yesterday we had a trivia question, and again, I want to thank all the people that came in with the correct answer. Yeah, I tell you, we got a bunch of smart listeners on this for this show, Sal, because some of these questions, if somebody asked me on the street some of these questions, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. But and again, the winner, which you're going to love where this guy's from, but the winner beat the second place guy, who happens to be our very own chat room guy, Coach K, by 3 minutes, slightly under 3 minutes. So these guys were listening live, and I guess my man Jake could type faster than Coach. The question was, when was the last fight that went more than 15 rounds? Like I said, we had at least 7 correct answers, and 2 of them came in within less than 3 minutes of each other. Coach becoming the first loser to cross the finish line, finishing second. But Jake from Georgia. Now, I don't know where in Georgia.
Jake from Georgia. He's listening in.
He just said,
hey, Jake. How are you, pal?
So maybe if it's somebody from your area, if you know anybody named Jake, or Jake, if you're listening again today, make sure you stop in and tell Sal, hey, I'm Jake.
Jake, you come see me at the pizzeria.
Jake from Georgia knew that on March 17th in 1943, lightweight Bobby Ruffin knocked out Bobby McIntyre in the 17th round of a scheduled 20-round fight that took place in New Orleans. There have been 4 scheduled 20-round fights, but the longest went 15 rounds after this fight that went 17. So congratulations from Jake, and he is getting a couple of collector boxing cards, unopened collector boxing cards sent to him. When I send out all the winners over the last week or so. I'm a little backed up, so if you didn't get your prize, that's because it didn't go out yet. It should go out this week, so hang tight. It's too early for a trivia question. Question is this, Sal. Which former world heavyweight champions' boxing career spanned the most years? Which former world heavyweight champions' boxing career spanned the most years? If you know this answer and you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win a choice of some great prizes. Good luck to everyone on that one. That's another one that I think somebody's going to get.
Someone's got. You're gonna see the emails coming in right away, and unless it's not a contemporary, I can't think of anybody in yesteryear.
Well, it's not.
You know what? Joe Louis had a long career, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's a good answer, Sal. I was just gonna say it's not Jack Dempsey.
Well, I was gonna go there too. That's my canned everyday answer, Jack Dempsey.
I know it is.
But and Muhammad Ali had a hell of a long career.
There you go. You got a couple of good answers for people to look
chomp
up.
on a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, on this day in boxing history, August 30th, in the year 1900, James Corbett knocks out. There's a name. James Corbett knocks out Charles Kid McCoy in the 5th round of their scheduled 25-round fight. It was a heavyweight battle. James Corbett improved to 11 wins, 3 losses, and 3 draws. Many believe that Kid McCoy took a dive to win a bet that he placed against himself.
It must be a first time.
A lot of fighters used to do that. They could make. Listen, boxing back in the day, the odds to bet on boxing were but they were better. It was better odds. I mean, today you get their mismatch is so bad. You got to lay $2,500 to win 100. They weren't that bad back in the day, And he was obviously an underdog. He bet a few bucks. He won more money at the betting window than he could at the fight. So
I talk about those old days a lot to my kids sometimes, and the evolution of that I was aware of with boxing, with the bare knuckle days, and we talk about the John L. Sullivan and the Bob Fitzsimmons. Was it Fitzsimmons or Bob Fitzpatrick? No, Bob Fitzsimmons. Didn't he beat Gentleman Jim Corbett for the title one time? And Bob Fitzsimmons was a light heavyweight.
Well, he was a middleweight world champion too. He was a middleweight, light heavy, and heavy, and he was
he was a cagey fighter. He was long and lean.
Well, here's a interesting fact about him. Roy Jones Jr. was the last guy to win the world heavyweight title and then go back and recapture the world light heavyweight title since Bob Fitzsimmons. Bob Fitzsimmons did it, and it was like 100 years difference. But
100 years, 100 years ago. But I remember because you had those early bare knucklers, and of course, Gentleman Jim Corbett dethroned the reigning champion of John L. Sullivan at that time, and then out of nowhere, you had this Bob Fitzsimmons, who was a cagey, long, lean fighter wanting to step up for a heavyweight championship, and he beat Jim Corbett pretty bad.
You know what remember what his famous punch was?
Hawaiian punch?
Yeah, wham. Yeah.
Wham.
Like the Kool-Aid guy? Kool-Aid's. No. The uppercut? No. Solarplex shot. He was a body shot guy.
Yes, the body.
And
you're right.
And
he could do it with a jab, and you go down.
And he was a weird-looking guy, bald, red, remaining red hair, freckles all over.
Balding.
Yep. And his wife used to. If people remember watching Carl Froch and his hot wife, girlfriend, whatever, Rachel, she had nothing compared to Bob Fitzsimmons' wife, who would yell and tell him how to yell at him and tell him what punches to throw from the ring.
The stomach.
Anyway, on this day, August 30th, in 1927, Jimmy Slattery wins a 10-round decision over Slapsy Maxie Rosenblum, to win the vacant NBA World Light Heavyweight title. Took place in Hartford, Connecticut. On this day in 1960, another Jimmy Slattery, obviously it wasn't the same guy, dies. Oh, I'm sorry. It was the same guy. I was reading something else. But Jimmy Slattery, on this day in 1960, died. He was only 54 years old. So there you go. I almost stumbled upon my own stupidity there. I guess I did. All right, it was a stupid move. I jumped the gun. But I looked at the dates. I said, well, it can't be the same guy. But I didn't read the whole thing. But anyway, on this day in 1987, Lloyd Honeyghan knocks out Gene Hatcher in the first round to retain
Gene Hatcher, wow.
You're thinking of Gene Hackman, but his WBC and IBF World Welterweight titles that took place in Spain. On this day in 1993, Tommy "the Duke" Morrison knocks out Tim Tomaszak in the fourth round to retain his WBA World Heavyweight title that took place in Kansas City, Missouri. And on this day in 1937, Joe Louis wins a 15-round decision over Tommy Farr to retain his world heavyweight title in his very first title defense at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. And that's what happened on this day, August 30th, in boxing history. Sal, you got any final thoughts, man?
Well, I just want to say, we talked a little bit earlier about the emails and stuff. I just want to say that I do love the men and women in blue that do protect us in the police force. And there are good cops, there are bad cops. There are good and bad in every sector of our society across the board. But I want to tell you that I do love and respect the policemen that do their job and do protect us and do the right job and are equal and see us all as a united country. As well as, I tell you what, I love to also say hats off, and we also send our prayers and to all the men and women in the armed forces that are our frontline defense, and all the people we have down here in FLETC. I praise these guys every day, the men and women. They're in the government agencies. They come down here and train in Brunswick, Georgia, and they are our frontline defense. And I think we also should keep them always in our thoughts. And like I said, there's good and bad in every social divide. But I love the majority of these guys that do the right job, the right thing every day.
And the right thing that they do from FLETC is come in there and eat lunch. So I
they
mean, that's
sure do. And they eat pizza and they come in.
Hey, I met all those guys. Remember, I was sitting there. Remember, I was sitting there and I met those guys from New York, and we were all critiquing your pizza. Remember? But anyway, hey, listen. Don't forget, tomorrow we got a busy show scheduled, and we want you to remember to tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then. Ciao, baby.